So in this moment, we remember and give thanks for their dedication and selfless service to our nation in the cause of our freedom.
Alex Jeffrey Pretti was the 37-year-old U.S. citizen intensive care nurse for the U.S. Veteran Affairs who was sadly shot numerous times and killed by Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota on January 24th. We're going to piece together the video evidence to determine what appeared to have happened and what he experienced using psychology, neuroscience, and body language. Although we're not going to show the footage after the shots ring out, I will describe what happened thereafter. And this video is not political. We're simply going to break down what appeared to have happened that terrible day. Now, let's get started. We first see Alex in a verbal confrontation with Border Patrol here while he's filming them with his cell phone. Which is interesting because that means Alex Pretti has first-person cell phone footage of what happened to him that day. We then see him in the street seemingly waving cars past and apparently saying something to Border Patrol.
Go!
For some reason, that seems to draw the attention of Border Patrol to oddly shove what appears to be a female civilian approximately 6 feet into that snowbank. He goes to confront that Border Patrol agent, but quickly gets OC pepper sprayed. Alex then attempts to help up that civilian who was shoved into that roadside snowbank.
They do too much, man, and they keep pushing people, you know?
As they're wrestling with him on the ground, he's basically curled up in the fetal position with his face towards the ground. There doesn't appear to be any clear verbal instruction to Alex of what he should do. For example, put your hands behind your back, because listen to the audio. Instead, we just see him getting grabbed by 3 to 4 Border Patrol agents and even what looks like getting pistol whipped in the face. Instinctively, if you had 3 men grabbing you and some were punching you in the face, what are you going to do? Right, bring your hands up to your face and certainly not just put your hands behind your back voluntarily in a submissive position when you're not even told you should be doing that. From Alex's perspective here, he's basically just getting jumped. Also interestingly, even if clear law enforcement orders were given to put your hands behind your back, but you're being pistol whipped in the face, it's natural for you to defend against the imminent dangerous physical threat of more pistol whips. But again, we didn't even hear Border Patrol agents yell commands to Alex. So before finding out that he had a firearm, which actually turned out to be illegal concealed carry, what were they trying to do with Alex here? Were they trying to detain him, arrest him? Were they just jumping him because he was a nuisance during that day? In the tussle, Alex's jacket flips up, revealing his legally owned and registered pistol in the right side waistband of his pants. This apparently caused the Border Patrol agents, who were currently working to apprehend Alex for whatever reason, to warn the other agents that Alex has a gun. The agents working to apprehend, arrest, beat, we don't really know what they were doing to Alex. They seemed to yell the word gun, which seemed to draw the attention of Blue Jeans guy over here, who was not originally focused on Alex.
People, what is wrong with you? Honestly.
But was instead oddly focused on macing that civilian who was trying to help up their fellow civilian off the slippery, icy roadside. Those people over there were not doing anything. You can see Blue Jean guy come over, pulling out his mace, and is like, all right, time to get maced now, and start to mace them. Why? They were just trying to get up from falling down. If they were in the way, or if they could have been interfering with the other law enforcement, you just redirect them. Say, hey, please step on the sidewalk. Why did they deserve to get maced? He's like, time to get maced. Apparently, Blue Jeans guy here is dealing with a lot of personal animosity against some protesters who are against what he believes to be right and what he believes he should be doing. It's not part of his scope of work to take his frustration frustration out on protesters. Whether you agree or disagree with what ICE is doing, it should never escalate into physical conflict between the two groups, especially from professionals who aren't supposed to be physically antagonizing civilians. When Blue Jeans heard gun being shouted, that seemed to draw his attention to the Border Patrol struggle with Alex, apparently believing that Alex had a gun in his hand and that situation was about to become lethal. However, if we look at the footage of the struggle, there doesn't appear to be a weapon in Alex's hand. Blue Jeans was likely focused on what he presumed to be in Alex's hands and not his waistband, where Gray Jacket Guy was in the process of disarming Alex. Gray Jacket Guy comes into the situation without a weapon in hand, as we see here. Then see Gray Jacket grab onto what seems to be Alex's pistol and is struggling to pull it out of his right waistband, where we would expect a casual firearm carrying citizen to hold their weapon. It's because carrying it on their right back hip is out of sight, covered by his jacket, and easily accessible to grab with their right dominant hand. We notice Gray Jacket attempting to yank Alex's pistol from his waistband, but it's difficult to remove. Gray Jacket is yanking and yanking and yanking, and finally he removes it, as seen in this exact moment of release here. However, it doesn't appear that Gray Jacket yells that he has successfully disarmed Alex, letting the other officers know he's not armed with that gun any longer. Just as Gray Jacket disarms Alex, Blue Jeans pulls his gun and points it at Alex. And 1 second after Alex was apparently disarmed by Gray Jacket, Blue Jeans and the other agent next to him sadly start firing rounds into Alex's back. It's usually not a good look for law enforcement when they shoot a suspect in the back, especially when there's no real imminent danger to people in front of the suspect. Also, shooting at the suspect with fellow law enforcement in the line of fire, as he did here, is highly dangerous and discouraged, because they can miss or the bullet can ricochet or go through the suspect and into your teammate. When Alex Pretti was sadly struck by the blaze of about 11 rounds from 2 Border Patrol agents, and analyzing the footage, Alex was certainly not moving after the first 3 to 4 rounds. But then why do they keep firing them? What seemed to have occurred is what's psychologically called contagious fire. This is when other officers begin shooting because someone else on their team fired a shot. As you can imagine, this can cause a circular psychological effect where each officer relies on the other to stop firing as a signal for them to stop. However, in chaotic, high-stress confrontations like this one, law enforcement may continue firing not because there's a visual confirmed threat, but because the sound of gunfire from their fellow agents reinforces their perception of danger and overrides their slower individual threat reassessment, leading to a cascade of shots even after the immediate threat appears to be neutralized. It's also quite odd that as shots are being fired, the Border Patrol agents aren't heard yelling commands for Alex to drop his weapon. They're oddly verbally quiet. Police officers often yell commands such as "drop your weapon" to possibly preserve the suspect's life, but also to legally protect themselves from claims that they used deadly force without believing the suspect posed an imminent lethal threat. Why do you think they didn't seem to yell any commands to Alex, such as "hands on your head" or "drop your weapon"? Is it a training issue where they were not trained to do that? Or is it that they were trained to do it, but they just don't care to do it because they think they can do anything they want? Those are the two I'm between, but maybe you can help us out and you can tell us in the comments below. What did Alex experience in his final moments? Using a precise digital timer with the video editing software I have, Alex sadly passed away in about 3 seconds from feeling the first round. Therefore, since it's passed at least 1 second, psychologically and neurologically, that was enough time for him to sadly feel those early rounds jolt into his body. He knew he was being shot and sadly also knew that he was going to die. In his final moments of his life, his brain would have sadly been fully conscious, registering those sudden impacts, intense shock, and burning or crushing sensation going from his back into his torso before his blood pressure and oxygen to his brain rapidly collapsed, causing him to lose awareness and sadly become unresponsive. As Border Patrol agents back away to sadly fire upon Alex, we notice that he seems to grab something from his back waist or pocket with his right hand. It doesn't appear to be a gun because Gray Jacket Guy apparently already removed that from his person, and Alex reportedly just had one gun. Some say it's his cell phone, but it may have been a magazine cartridge where he seemed to instinctively grab something in self-defense, or thinking that he still had his pistol back there to defend himself now knowing he was being shot at. And Alex grabbing anything in that final moment is obviously not an indication he initially had nefarious intentions, but instead a natural psychological self-defense reaction where he felt his body was being sadly hit with bullets, and that was just a natural, desperate attempt to survive. Alex sadly knew that was the end for him. He heard the gunshots, he felt his body jolt from being struck with each of those early rounds. He sadly felt pain leading up to his death and knew his life was ending. Although it saddens me to have to confirm with what you probably knew that Alex's final moments were quite rough, the truth of how tragic this event was must not be covered up, but must be known. Do you know what's absolutely crazy with Border Patrol? There might be a few things, but Border Patrol agents don't wear body cameras. Initially, years ago, state and local police officers were against body cameras because they didn't want the extra scrutiny. But many have found that they like them because it gives proof of what occurred in any controversial events. Yes, it forces them to do everything by the book and how they were trained, because if they don't, they know their actions can be scrutinized and be reprimanded. In other words, they know they need to take clear accountability for their actions. It's wild that Border Patrol is this controversial, and yet they aren't issued body cameras. But why do you think they aren't wearing body cameras? Is it a funding issue? Is it a transparent issue? Is it a convenience issue? I don't know. You let us know in the comments below what you think. However, not wearing body cameras and knowing that other law enforcement personnel wear body cameras may psychologically signal to some of those Border Patrol agents that they don't need to act precisely to their training and won't be held fully accountable for their actions. This brings up another fundamental flaw we're noticing with Border Patrol. It's that although many have at least some military and law enforcement background, they are lacking things like culture, norms, and cumulative training that other law enforcement agencies have grown, cultivated, and developed through decades and even hundreds of years of experience with trial and error. What we're all seeing is a law enforcement agency where their size, scope has increased exponentially over just a few months, while also given a lot of new power. Although U.S. Border Patrol was officially established about 100 years ago, they were never this big and were not at all focused on going deep inside American cities to find and extract any and all illegal immigrants from the country. They're controversial, inexperienced, especially as a group working together. They have minimal oversight and accountability. What could possibly go wrong? My thoughts and prayers are with Alex Pretti's family, friends, and loved ones during this difficult time. Now in the comments, what do you think U.S. Border Patrol needs to improve upon? Let everyone know in the comments below. Subscribe for more. And if you want exclusive content and channel perks, hit that join button now below, because your support makes all of this possible. Personally, I wouldn't verbally confront law enforcement if I were legally carrying a firearm, because any misunderstanding could end very badly for me. However, that doesn't make what happened to Alex Pretti at all right or just. See you next time.